Hi, and welcome to Read Becca. Today I thought we would run through my 2021 reading goals. Now, I don't have a yearly goals video because I wasn't on BookTube at the start of the year, but I pretty much was operating as a booktuber long before I ever was, so I've got all these reading goals in place and have been doing that for years. So let's talk through what my goals are for the year. My first goal is my standard book count goal. So this is pretty loose. I keep it at a level where I want to have it challenging and I keep myself reading, but not so hard that I'm burning out. So I think the right level for me is 125 books. I've set that challenge goal the past couple of years. I've tried raising it and lowering it, and that seems to be what is natural for me to hit. I am currently right about on track with that. I am at, as of the beginning of April, 34 books read, and I've obviously read a little bit more into April, so I'm right on track. Second goal is reading my 2021 Goodreads TBR shelf. I set up a current year TBR shelf full of things that I really want to prioritize, and I may or may not get to those. I will roll over any that I do not get to into the next year's TBR shelf. So for this one, I selected 2 series that I wanted to read in their entirety, and of those I have 3 books remaining on one of those series and 2 books on the other, both 5-book series. And I have a number of next in series sequels that I want to get to, that I've placed 1 book in those series on the list. I've got a number of debuts and new to me authors that I want to get to, and then several books that are just new releases that I want to prioritize. So of those 40, I've read 2 books so far. One was a first in series new to me author, and the other was a standalone new to me author. The third goal that I have is reading from my physical TBR and my owned books. So I don't do very well at this every year. I think last year I hit 24 total owned books read out of 150 something. So my ratio is pretty low. And I don't worry about that too much because I buy most of my books from charity sales, and I don't spend a whole lot on brand new releases. I mostly get those from the library. So in this case, I have, hundreds of books to choose from on my owned books, and then my physical TBR shelf, I've narrowed it down to about 50 books that sit on that shelf. So I've currently read 2 books from my physical TBR shelf, which is pretty decent. I think last year I hit 8 total, so that was not great. And I've read 7 owned books total for the year, including those 2 from the physical TBR shelf. And I've already read 2 more in April, actually. So I'm continuing to expand that lead on last year. So the added focus, I think, has really helped with this goal, and I expect to do really well based on some additional plans that I have coming up. So I think that's going quite well. Then the fourth goal I have is reading the Hainish novels. So you've seen me hold up my copy of the omnibus edition of the Hainish novels because I'm reading The Dispossessed quite frequently, and so I have been reading that for a couple years, and I kind of set it down after I read the first 3 and just never really picked it back up, and then it sat for a year. So I wanted to prioritize that this year, and I have read now The City of Illusion and The Dispossessed, and that obviously puts me at a pretty good pace to finish out the 3 more novels that are remaining in the series and short stories by the end of the year if I do actually keep up the reading pace that I'm going at. So I feel like that priority has really helped on that goal. The final goal I have is read more genre romance. And my history with this is that I had a pretty big bias against romance. I had never really read it before. And in Valentine's Day of 2019, I decided to read a genre romance in order to kind of get over that bias. And so I picked up A Princess in Theory by Alyssa Cole, and surprise, I really enjoyed it and have read a ton of Alyssa Cole's work since then. So I have been reading kind of in spurts when I pick up romance. I will tend to grab three novels or something, you know, and read them in a weekend and then not read anymore for months. So I wanted to get a better stride with that and try to read more on a monthly basis, where they're great palette cleansers. They're great to kind of get a refresher in between heavier works, or even just be reading alongside something heavier so that you can get a break. So I wanted to include that more regularly in my reading. And I think I've been doing really well at that. I'm up to 8 genre romance so far this year. So I think that goal is also doing quite well. So those are my goals for the year. I think all of them are pretty well on track, except for perhaps the 2021 Goodreads TBR shelf, where I'm at 2 completed out of 40. So like I mentioned, you know, that one, I don't worry too much about completing all of them. I will roll it over into next year if I have any remaining. So it's not a huge deal if I don't, but I would really like to see a higher number there, because that shelf has some high priority works that I really want to get to, such as it actually already has all of the books from the recently announced Hugo novel shortlist that I haven't read. So I really want to get to those. So hopefully those will be coming up in the next couple months. So that is what my goals look like for 2021 as of first quarter. I will link down below the links to my Goodreads 2021 TBR shelf and the video tour of my physical TBR shelf, so that you can get an idea of what books are actually on those lists. And I think everything so far is going right to plan, so hopefully I keep up for the remainder of the year. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe.